You're listening to episode 87 of Liz's Healthy Table.
Looking for a healthy new way to feed your family without the hassle and hype? Welcome to Liz's Healthy Table, where your host, registered dietitian nutritionist Liz Weiss, serves up fresh and flavorful recipes with a tasty side of science, good nutrition, and fun. Are you and your family ready for some wholesome food that tastes great too? Don't change that dial. Your food adventure starts here.
Welcome to the podcast, everyone. On this week's show, we are taking a look back at 2020. Oh, wow. What a year, huh? Gosh, I don't even know where to begin. You know, if you're a longtime listener, you might recall my podcast from January 1st of this year, and it was called Celebrate 2020. Who knew, right? I had so many high hopes for this year. I know we all did, right? I celebrated a big birthday on August 25th, and yeah, it was a big birthday. So I had a lot of travel plans set up. I was going to Italy. I was going to Croatia and Greece. I was getting together with friends. I mean, it was just going to be this incredible year. And I won't bore you with all the details. You can go back and listen to episode 67 if you have not. Yeah, 20 episodes ago. I can't get over how much things have changed, right? You know, we all had so many dreams. We had so many hopes. And I'm over it, you know, like I feel like once this vaccine takes hold, it's just going to be like the roaring 20s, right? Get your sequins out, get ready for Great Gatsby. Here we come. It's just going to be a big party, but we still have to kind of hang tight and we have to be patient. But anyway, on today's show, we're going to take a look at all the silver linings that sprung from the pandemic. We'll talk about my silver linings. We'll talk about some of your silver linings. You know, I actually put a note out on the Podcast Posse page on Facebook, also on my personal page, and I got lots of really great comments, you know, just about how people turned lemons into lemonade this year. So we're going to get into that on the show. And then we're also going to end the show with a cookie recipe. This is something I just created. It's on my blog, Liz's Healthy Table. One of my absolute favorite cookie recipes, brand new on the blog. It is a recipe. It's gluten-free. It's a recipe for chocolate, almond, and orange sparkle cookies. And they're a better for you cookie. So I've made a few adaptations to the recipe, as I often do, right? Remember, I'm all about making recipes a little bit healthier. So delicious and a really great yummy cookie for the holidays or just any time you're kind of craving something sweet. And I recommend you bake up a batch and then freeze what you don't eat and then pull one out every day when you need that little chocolate fix. So silver linings and cookies. That's what today's show is all about. A few friendly reminders before we get started. If you love the show, tell a friend about it. Or post a review on Apple Podcasts or Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow me on lizshealthytable.com and be sure to check out the show notes from today's show for the recipes that I talk about and anything else. And I'll always give a shout out throughout the show. I'll be like, oh, it's in the show notes. So head on over there and be sure to check it out. And then, of course, follow me on Instagram and social media because that's a great way to kind of stay on top of everything that I've been up to. I will tell you that I am still on Nantucket. We sold our house in Lexington and we bought a condo in Boston, a small little 2-bedroom, downsizing. But right now, a lot of people are leaving the city and moving to the suburbs. We kind of did the opposite, but we're still here on Nantucket. Nantucket is called the Gray Lady because it is very gray in the winter. And Boston's very gray in the winter too, but it'll be nice to have a change of scenery. So we're going to try to move into the condo on the 31st. So we will be ringing in the new year in Boston. All right, listeners, listen, let's reflect on this show. Let's reflect on some of my favorite episodes from 2020. Let's talk about the silver linings that sprung up from our quarantine lives. And let's look ahead to good food, good health, prosperity, travel, and lots of new adventures in 2021 and beyond. All right, let's begin with Liz's silver linings. Well, right now I'm standing up because I have a stand-up desk. And early on in quarantine, I was sitting all day, and my back was really hurting, and I wasn't going out to do my usual yoga classes. And so I bought a stand-up desk, and I think we got it off Amazon. It was like the best thing ever. And I literally spend my entire day standing up. I rarely sit down. Maybe this is why I'm so tired at night, but it really helps my back. Otherwise I would be in a lot of pain. So that's your silver lining, number one. I did discover doing yoga classes at home, and there's some classes I pay for. Some classes are on YouTube. I really like this Yoga with Adriene, kind of mellow, kind of easy, almost a little too easy. So now I've discovered this guy named Jordan. He's very spiritual. And Jordan is at a place called Burning Wheel, right outside of Boston. And he was doing like a ton of classes on Facebook through quarantine. And now he does classes where you can sign up and pay. And it's like an hour 15. It's good value. And so I did his class today, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do Jordan from now on, do more of his classes, because it kind of pushes me a little bit. And I kind of need that. Otherwise, I'm like, I'm checking my email. I'm doing yoga. So I think for me, if I pay a little something, I'm very much accountable. So last night I signed up for that 7:45 a.m. class. I'm like, oh, do I have to really do this? But I'm so glad I did. So that is going to be something I will try to do a little bit more of in 2021. Get up early, get the workout done. Speaking of workouts, I'm not a big exerciser, but I did get an e-bike. That was my birthday gift. Tim got it for me for my big birthday. So that e-bike has been great fun because I'm cycling all around Nantucket and going off-road and discovering parts of the island I would never normally go to. So I'm not going to say I get like a big workout, but it's just so great to be outside. Even in the winter, if it's a warmish day, I'll bundle up and go. And it's very fun. It's a big kind of thrill when you're on the e-bike. You can go kind of fast. Got to wear that helmet though. As I mentioned, we sold our house, and we have had all of our stuff in storage for several months. And I must say a lot of stuff will probably stay in storage. But in a week and a half, we're moving into the city. So follow me on social media, and I will be sure to share some photos and highlights. Television. I have watched some really good TV. Let's see the shows I've watched. Tell me if you've watched these, okay? Go to the show notes from today's episode and tell me in the comments what you guys have been watching and what you think I need to watch. I don't like scary. I don't like disturbing. So I like happy. So I've done Emily in Paris, and you cannot ask for happier than Emily in Paris. I've done The Queen's Gambit, which I thought was fantastic. And now we're watching The Mandalorian. Now we happen to be Star Wars fans, so it's adorable. And I love that little baby Yoda. He's so cute, and I want one. Now I want a baby because I want to carry this little baby Yoda around. He's so cute. Let's see. Oh, huge silver lining. Cooking a lot. I love to cook, so that has not been too difficult for me. I really enjoyed it when Simon came home from college in March, and he was here till August. I'm not sure he enjoyed it, but I enjoyed it. And we were back to the family meals, family dinners. And that's been a huge trend for a lot of people, that family mealtime is back. It's so popular. And I think people have really families have discovered how much they missed sitting down and enjoying that meal together. And I'm a big family meals advocate. So hello, what an awesome trend, right? Now, a lot of people have cooking fatigue. What happens to me is I just get bored. I need to try new things. And so it's the holidays, right? And this ad came across my email for Masterclass. It said, you buy one, you get one free. So basically, I bought this one subscription for a year. I got one free, which I sent to Josh, my son, and his girlfriend, Sophia, because they've been stuck in their little apartment in New York this whole time. And basically, Masterclass is this portal you go into, and there are classes on anything. You want to learn to be an artist or speak a different language or play the guitar or write a screenplay or cook like a master chef. You just get in and you start doing that class. And so I signed up for a class on modern Middle Eastern cooking with my favorite chef in the world, Yotam Ottolengi. And this is kind of why I signed up. And now I am almost 3 episodes in, and it is so cool. So this is what I do. So I'm doing this class with a friend of mine, my friend Suzanne. She lives in Lexington. I live on Nantucket. And so what we do is each Tuesday, it's kind of been like Tuesday at 5 o'clock before dinner, we will each watch Yotam's cooking video. It might be 20 minutes. We'll each do the grocery shopping on our own. And then we'll do a lot of the prep ahead of time. Let's say you have to roast red peppers for a recipe for 40 minutes or whatever. We'll do that on our own. And then we meet up at 5 o'clock on Zoom and we cook the recipe together. So we learn from Yotam sort of on our own. We reference back to him. He's got an ebook, you download it, or we watch a little bit of the video again, and then we cook together. And we hang out and we catch up and we socialize. And so since I am not traveling this year, I feel like, I can learn a world cuisine that I would normally not cook weekly. I love Middle Eastern cuisine anyway. And you feel like you're traveling when you take his class. And so that is a huge silver lining. I don't think I would have done it before. Let's see, another silver lining. I had an awesome intern from Boston University all semester long named Lin Fei Chen. Lin Fei is from Shanghai. She's living in Boston now. And she was just a delight to have. And we would cook together on Zoom and we would hang out on Zoom each week. And she created a recipe for my blog for ketchup shrimp with vegetables. And this is a recipe that she loved when she was a kid. And she created a cooking video to go with it. She's just a delight. So in the show notes, I will give you a link to Lin Fei's recipe, and it's a great family recipe. So if you're looking for something new and it's authentic, it's like straight from her grandmother's kitchen in Shanghai and very simple. You don't need anything but ketchup, believe it or not. And let's see, garlic, ginger, shrimp, frozen vegetables. It is truly the easiest. Oh, and some cornstarch and rice if you want rice. Gluten-free, so easy, very authentic. So that'll be in the show notes for you. And then, I've been doing some Zoom cooking classes for other groups. I have been doing webinars for fellow dietitians. I've been doing TV segments, all from my home kitchen. So I had to buy, lights and these ring lights, and I had to buy a microphone. You got the tripod. So I have invested in some basic equipment, nothing too out there. It's like semi-professional, but I've been doing a lot of that from home too. So yeah, so those are your silver linings. I will say I am really ready for the pandemic to be over. I'm not going to lie. But a lot of us are just kind of digging deep, right? And just trying to find the positive in all of this. As far as my favorite podcasts, oh my goodness, so many good ones in 2020. Let's see. Joe Yonan, the author of Cool Beans. And Joe is the food editor of the Washington Post. I love that episode from 2020. He's got great recipes in the book. Beans are economical. They're so nutritious. And he really gives them a fun, contemporary, jazzed up flair in his cookbook. Super interesting. Lots of international flavors in the book. So that's Joe Yonan. Be sure to tune into that podcast. And then Annie Fenn. She is a doctor, a chef. Her blog is The Brain Health Kitchen. And she was on the podcast. And I'm really interested in this Mind Diet. This is a diet. It stands for Mediterranean Dash Intervention for a Neurodegenerative Delay. Basically, it's a Mediterranean-style DASH diet. By the way, Roseanne Rust was on my podcast talking about the DASH diet in 2020. You can listen to that podcast as well. But it's a diet that's very much Mediterranean in style. There's 10 foods that are part of the Mind diet, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, all the goodies that we love. And this helps to keep our brains healthy. And so Annie was on the podcast and I loved having her on. Also, Annie and I are working as sort of contractors, freelancers for a company called Neuro Reserve. And they make dietary supplements that are good for brain health. And I have started taking them and I'm doing some recipes for them, as is Annie. So Neuro Reserve, I will put info in the show notes on them. And you'll be hearing a little bit more about them in 2021. And then, I did a lot of shows on like quarantine cooking, food safety, and immunity. What do you eat? What nutrients should you include in your diet or supplements you might want to take that help to keep your immune system healthy and strong? So for me, I have been taking vitamin C, vitamin D, and I have been taking zinc. in addition to those NeuroReserve brain healthy nutrients that I'm taking. And then I do a probiotic every day as well. So that's your little inside secret of keeping that immune system strong. So as far as some of your silver linings, oh my gosh, I got a lot of them. I put this call out on Facebook and I heard from so many people. I cannot include them all because we would be here all day on this podcast. But, there were some big themes that came up, in these silver linings. Let's see. Here's some biggies. More time with my kids and more time cooking. Family meals. That was a biggie I heard from people. I heard about Zoom calls that people were doing with extended family and friends. And I know for me, I have been regularly Zooming with my college girlfriends. I mean, we're talking like we all met in 1978. Hello, a long time ago. We talk to our family in the UK all the time. So people Zooming a lot and really reconnecting with family and friends, creating these strong bonds. People feeling like the silver lining for them was just staying safe and keeping other people safe. Other people getting out more in nature, gardening more. I heard from people who moved from the city to the suburbs, right? I said that earlier. So lots of change is in the air, right? So here's a great silver lining from Dale. And Dale is a dietitian. She's a grandmother. And she says that the best thing, the silver lining for all of her quarantining, she moved in with her son and her daughter-in-law and her grandchildren in Philadelphia. And she says, instead of seeing them 2 to 3 times a year, I see them every day. And she says she gets to cook dinner for them almost every night. And I love this. She said, last night, my daughter-in-law said, it is so nice to have a restaurant quality dinner every night. She said the entree was caramelized shallot pasta. Her grandson ate all the steamed broccoli. He asked for more. She says that is a grandmother's dream come true. And I will agree with you, Dale, especially a grandmother who's a dietitian, right? So just being with her son and her grandkids. I mean, how awesome is that? Kelly is a mom of 1 and she's got 1 on the way. She said she learned to set better boundaries with her work and she does a better job delegating to her contractors. This has helped me spend more time with my son without stressing over what I wasn't getting done. Also a bonus, she says she has her husband home more without the long commute most days. And I think we certainly hear that from a lot of folks who don't have to get in that car and drive an hour to work and an hour home every day. So just more time to be together. Of course, sometimes like with my husband, because we're kind of both working from home, he's driving me crazy. But anyway, that's a whole nother show. All right. Hillary says, slowing down a little despite being busier than ever work-wise. She has enjoyed starting her day reading the paper with her cup of tea. She says, I also think the world has become more appreciative of nature therapy, which hopefully will boost support for climate change regulations. The woods have become my refuge. Good one, Hillary. Getting out in nature and appreciating it. And I think the planet has appreciated it. Less travel, less tourism. Tourism puts a strain on communities. It can support communities. It could put a strain on communities. Roseanne. This is Roseanne, my partner in crime on IGTV, Instagram TV. Every week, Roseanne and I do a live Instagram, which we call Nutrition in an Insta. And so if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know what I mean. She says, staying healthy and having so much to be grateful for is my silver lining. We have always been outdoor people, so that didn't change. As much as I love to travel, I have to say that taking a forced year off was a silver lining in a way, to just be home and to chill out. Margie says, committing more to Zoom meetings with good friends. Even though actual get-togethers are impossible, you still get to check in on friends as a unit. And she says, boy, do we laugh. She says people are becoming more aware of the fragility of the restaurant industry. This is an important one. How to keep them in business despite the restrictions. She says, call ahead, pick it up, tip, tip, tip. She says, that's my mantra. And yeah, that's true. I mean, if you think about everybody cooking at home more as that silver lining, where does that leave our restaurants? And so getting takeout. Or if you could eat outside, there's ways to work around it. But that's a tough one for restaurants for sure. Judy says hobbies. unstructured time. She says, I've been able to play with watercolors, to watch movies, and to read more because I'm not being as social. Amy says, now I love this one. Okay, so Amy made this comment, and I'm going to tell you I can relate. I raised Josh and Simon through, middle school, high school, and we know high school kids, teenagers, like to stay up late, and you scream and you yell, you gotta go to bed, you gotta get up at the crack of dawn. Their body clocks cannot do it. So they go to bed late, and then you drag them out of bed to go to school in the morning, which is not so easy. So Amy says, my teenager gets more sleep. That's the silver lining. Last year, he had to wake up at 5:50 to catch a bus by 6:30 a.m. This year, he can sleep until 7 or 7:30 and start class by 8 from home. And I bet she's given him some really nice, healthy breakfasts too, instead of, running out the door and grabbing whatever, right? We can give our kids breakfast now. It's good. All right. Next up is Diana. She is the mom of 2 little ones. She's talking about meal planning. She says she got a lot better at meal planning because she's not grocery shopping as often. She says, I pretty much have my Instacart set on, set it and forget it mode. Set it and forget it mode. I like that. She says, I rotate through 4 weeks of different orders. That's pretty cool. Another bonus is that relying on the same rotation of meals has helped my kids get exposed to the meals I typically make and really grow to like most things I serve. So it sounds like she's expanded her repertoire, but now the kids are really used to all these new recipes. A little bit of repetition. Kids like that. Patricia, she says that she lost 35 pounds since January. She is going to hopefully make her goal of, get this, 100 exercise classes in 2020. Wow. So, when people exercise at home, for me, it's hard to get motivated, but gosh, if you're motivated, think about how much more you can squeeze in terms of exercise, especially if you're, hopping into different Zoom classes and YouTube videos and the like. All right, GJ, she is a Podcast Posse member. She says, I published a new book, started volunteering virtually with a new organization. My son got to work in person at an internship in San Antonio. My husband got to finish taking a class in person in the fall semester. And get this, he made a beautiful piece of furniture. She says, I have spent a lot more time with my brothers and my spouses and their spouses because we all meet on Zoom once a month. I also meet every week with 2 girlfriends that I usually only get to see once a month. So there you go, staying more connected. And our last silver lining from Amy, Podcast Posse, she says, we haven't even talked about this yet. I conquered making French bread, and it's even more delicious than store-bought. I got to virtually spend holidays and birthdays this year with faraway family that I normally would not get to see. Yeah, we didn't talk about sourdough bread. I will tell you, on Masterclass, they have a whole series or class on baking and sourdough. So don't be surprised if this winter I hop into that class. Hey, why not, right? I actually was thinking after Yotam Ottolengi, I might do Alice Waters' class, and she's a famous chef from Berkeley, California. And I happen to have a friend out here in Nantucket named Jim, who used to be a sous chef at Chez Panisse in Berkeley, which is Alice Waters' restaurant. And going over to his house for dinner is quite the treat, let me tell you. And he loves Alice Waters. So I thought maybe after Yotam Ottolengi's Middle Eastern class, I'll do her class, because she does tons of great things with vegetables. So that might be kind of fun to do this winter. So yeah, my plans this winter, as I wait patiently for this vaccine, just, move into the new apartment, continue, podcasting, blogging, doing my TV segments, doing what I'm doing and learning how to do it in a new environment in my little apartment in Boston. But it's going to be kind of cool. Not as much nature, but more, city life. And, once the pandemic is over, then really explore. All right. I promised you at the beginning of the podcast that I was going to share a chocolate orange almond sparkle cookie recipe. This is a nice way to kind of sweeten up the end of 2020 and add even more sweetness to 2021. So this recipe is on the blog, and I will put a link to it in the show notes, and I'll put a picture as well. So here is what you'll need for this recipe. So it's gluten-free. I make it with a cup of 1-to-1 gluten-free baking flour. And that is a Bob's Red Mill product. I find it at the Stop and Shop, and I have been baking constantly. Well, I did say earlier I don't bake a ton, but if I'm making brownies or a quick bread, Tim wants mincemeat pies for Christmas. And I did buy the mincemeat. It's really like dried fruit and stuff in a jar, kind of pre-made. Found that at the market. I will be making the crust for these little mincemeat pastries, and I will be using my gluten-free flour. So I'll report back on how that turned out on my Instagram stories. You'll need 1 cup of almond flour, also very easy to find at the market, half a cup of unsweetened cocoa powder. You'll need baking soda and salt. You combine those, put those in a bowl, and then in your second bowl, 2 large eggs, just beaten, 2/3 of a cup of granulated sugar, and a half a cup of canola oil. I use organic, and you can use olive oil, certainly. And then I add 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. And here's my secret ingredient, a teaspoon of orange zest. So just grate maybe half an orange, that teaspoon of zest. The combination of the chocolate and the orange says holidays. It is so good. And then you use a few tablespoons of these sprinkles, like the shimmery sugar sprinkles. Found those at the Stop and Shop. I used some that were gold and I used some that were silver. So they're shimmery, shiny. I saw red, but I thought, I'm going for gold and silver. Beautiful. So you've got your dry ingredients in a bowl. You've got your wet ingredients in a separate bowl. Combine the two. So simple. And then I roll the batter up. Oh, actually, first thing I do is just pop it in the fridge. I pop the batter in the fridge for about half an hour. Just want to firm it up. It doesn't have butter in there. We're using oil. So you want to firm it up so you can grab little handfuls and roll them into 1-inch balls. And you roll them, and then you roll them in the sugar. You just put the sugar on a plate, and just roll them in the sugar. I did half with the gold, half with the silver. Place them on a baking sheet at 350, and they literally just take 10 minutes. That's it. So simple. And you'll have to work in 2 batches. If you make a full recipe, you're going to have about 32 cookies. So start with 1 baking sheet, pull it out. And then if you have a second baking sheet, pop that in. You can use foil. You can use parchment. You can use like a Silpat pad. That's what I used, or Silpat mat. And quite simple, quite delicious. You can freeze them, as I said earlier, so that way you could just kind of pull one out when you need that little sweet in the afternoon with a cup of tea. So yummy, yummy. All right, before we end 2020, oh, what a year. Let me tell you about a few shows I have planned for next year. All right, let's start with a guest by the name of Mona Dolgov. And Mona just wrote a book called Satisfy, and it's 120 recipes under, 500 calories or less. So it's all about feeling full and satisfied with really healthy recipes that are bright, vibrant, and nutritious. So Mona's going to be on the podcast with lots of recipe ideas and tips and hacks and secrets for adding satisfaction to your everyday recipes. I'm going to have, I'm doing a show on potatoes. I love doing single ingredient shows, and I feel like potatoes just don't get enough love, They've always had a bad rap. They're really nutritious, and there's so many cool varieties out there. So I'm doing a potato podcast. I'm also very interested in these world cuisines, and I'm going to dig deeper into that next year and talk about like how we need to view the world through the eyes of other people. I know I'm very focused on the kind of cuisine I always make. It's more Mediterranean, European in nature. Not that I grew up in the Mediterranean, but it's like very what you would think sort of American cuisine, but with a European bent to it. And so we're going to explore some different cuisines in 2021 and just sort of see the world through the eyes of other people in other parts of the world. How do they eat? It's so easy for us to say, oh, that's not healthy. That's not healthy. So many world cuisines are just bursting with good health. There's always going to be sort of decadent components of every cuisine, but we need to celebrate that, and just balance it out. So we'll be exploring that as well. And then, when we start traveling again, I'll share some adventures, from my travels in 2021. But right now, as we say, I got nothing. I'm hanging out. I'm hanging low, hanging close to home, as many of you are. But it's been an interesting year, and I'm looking forward to, sharing more recipe ideas and inspiration in 2021. And I hope you'll be along for the ride. It's been great. And yeah, 87 episodes. We're going to break 100 in 2021. So that is something to celebrate. All right, folks, I'm going to let you go. I'm going to go eat lunch because I'm getting hungry. And I don't normally do shows all by my lonesome, and I feel so lonely right now, but I'm glad you guys are on the other end of the microphone. So have a great end of 2020. Be safe, be healthy, enjoy the new year, and we will be back with more podcast fun in 2021. Thanks for listening, everybody. And until next time, this is Liz Weiss at Liz's Healthy Table. Take care.